without even coming through Zoom. So I may try that next time. All right, guys. Welcome to the More Than Mindset live show. So every week I've been interviewing new guests. And this week my guest canceled. We were talking about hypnotherapy and healing. I'm sorry, I shouldn't use that word. We're talking about hypnotherapy and releasing chronic pain and suffering from the physical body. And so she had to cancel, and I decided just to go on with the show because I have plenty to talk about. So I wanted to share living in possibility and what that means. And so I'm going to just give a little lowdown of who I am, what I do, how I got in this position right now, a little bit of my history, how I used to believe and how I believe now, and what a difference and impact that has made in my life, in my relationships, in my business, and in my health. And I'll tell you a little bit about some of the places that I've studied and some of the concepts that I've created through my own experience and my experiences being in health and wellness for the last 20, I think it's 24 years. Um, so my name is Kim Guillory. I'm an integrative life coach. By integrative, I mean that I have integrated all of the modalities, trainings, and experiences in my personal and professional life and created this one very simple approach to gaining power and control of your life. And by that, I mean your health, your wealth, and your relationships. I live in Louisiana, right at the ankle of the boot. So it's right smack around the middle. I'm in a rural area where we are an hour from Starbucks, if that says anything. And I have figured out how to create a successful business, even out here in the crawfish lakes and the hayfields and where there's more cattle heads than humans. And so I've taken that experience into my love for holistic wellness and just basically helping people live a happier, healthier life. So I'm going to take you back to my story, how I used to believe, how I used to feel, and the challenges that I had. And then I'm going to take you forward on how you could actually implement some of that in your own life. And so I want to welcome you. Thank you for coming. And I'll give you a little bit of housekeeping duty here. If you have any questions for me, put them in the Q&A or put them in the chat. And as I wrap this up, I will take the recording off, and I will come on and I'll call you on and we can have a conversation. So that's how this is run. So I'll tell you a little bit going back as a child, even, growing up is I always had this kind of sense of sadness and searching. And I dealt with depression for the bigger part of childhood. And I think it mostly stimulated from just being alone. So my mother wasn't there. I didn't have any parents. I was by myself a lot. And I was trying to figure out this life thing. I didn't have anyone to go through, like, to kind of help me handle these emotions and what was going on in my life at school and what I was experiencing. And so I've kind of had to just figure it all out for myself. What I know now is some of the approaches and some of the things that I read actually planted beliefs that did not serve me. And so I know that now looking back, but at the time, it kept me alive. And that's kind of a big deal. So I don't want to discredit it or say it shouldn't have happened. I believe everything should happen exactly as it did because it did. So instead of like living in regret, trying to make it different than it is, I've actually learned to manage my mind and stabilize my emotions no matter what is happening around me through that experience. So it's been really impactful growing up in that environment and having to kind of like deal with all of this emotional stuff and figure out like not just how to survive, but how to thrive. And I don't mean that as a cliche, but I was seriously hating on life and I had to figure out how to want to live because I was not wanting to be here. Life was like not fun for me. So I remember just trying to get out or escape. And so I was a really heavy drinker. Matter of fact, the just me not drinking today is really a miracle within itself. I would have never thought there would be a time where I would say, I'm not a drinker. I have no desire, doesn't even cross my mind. It's just like not who I am anymore. And if somebody would have told me that 10 years ago, I would have said, you are crazy. I think anyone who doesn't drink is not fun. You don't know how to have fun. Like you don't know how to lighten up. Everybody needs to drink. That's kind of what my take and my approach was. That's actually all I knew. That was my only escape. That was fun. That gave me some sort of satisfaction or a sense of relief. So I've learned since then that it was actually just an escape. It was just something that I was using to buffer. And by buffer, I mean it's kind of like the sandpaper that smooths things out. So instead of having to deal with what I was feeling and what was going on in my life, in my emotional state, like I was looking for something else to do so I didn't have to think about it. So I didn't have to do what was uncomfortable or feel what was uncomfortable. Now, it sounds really terrible, right? But it wasn't. It looked from the outside that I was living a very successful life. I've been married, like I've been having this, I say I've been married to this family for like over 30 years. I have 5 amazing kids. I have 11 grandbabies. And even back in the day, like I had a business. Matter of fact, I had multiple locations. My husband worked shift work. I showed up for work every day. Matter of fact, I've never canceled on anyone else. Like I've just always made ends meet. I've always made money. I served my clients from a heartfelt place of service. Like it seemed from the outside that everything was going great, but on the inside, I was really struggling and suffering. And I was trying to figure out like what is wrong because compared to my childhood, my life was amazing. Like, I would have never imagined I'd have a brick home. I remember thinking that, right? Like, we actually own our home. We own property. Like, I have a business that I love. I get to show up every day and serve people. They pay me money. Like, I would have never imagined someone would pay me money to do something that I loved. And what it was all coming from was this not deserving. Like, all I can remember is like, I was in the way. I talked too loud. I dreamed too big. I needed to like sit still and be quiet. I needed to not make trouble. And so I had this dissonance going on. So there was a part of me that wanted more. I wanted to experience more. I wanted to explore. I wanted to like grow and evolve. And like I kind of wanted to fly and learn things. And then there was another part of me that was saying I couldn't, because that's what I was always told is that I couldn't. That's not possible for us. People like us don't go to college. You can't make money like that. We're not like those people. Like that was the upbringing that was going through my head. It was like a recording that was on this constant replay. You got to work hard. People are poop heads. Like they're going to take advantage of you. And then there was this other story that I was like really believing and wanting more. It was like my soul was exceeding the size of my life. Does that make sense? So you can just let me know in the chat or you can comment if you're on YouTube and tell me if you've ever found yourself in that position where you just knew there was more, but you didn't have any evidence that it was available for you. Like, in other words, you may have seen other people do it, or you may have seen, like, you might have read it in a book. I remember I was just like trying to figure out how to keep my family together and how to stay married. And I didn't have anyone in my family to go to. And I didn't have any like, I didn't have any relatives or anything to say, like, my God, how do you stay married? How do you keep loving this man? How do you keep showing up? Like, he's such an a-hole, right? I was having all of this stuff. So I was reading all of these books. And I remember like sitting in my living room and I'm reading through probably my 15th book about how to stay married. And they're just telling me how wonderful and great it is, and everything is so fantastic. And I took that book and I was like, well, it must be nice to be you. And I threw it across the living room because I was so sick and tired of hearing about everyone else's success story. And no one was telling me how. Tell me if you can relate to this. Tell me if this is something that you've experienced. Like, well, great then. If it's so wonderful, why can't I have it? Why can't I do it? Because that is where I was at. Like I'm saying, on the outside, it looked amazing. It looked like I had it all together. I was making good money. My kids were being normal humans. My husband and I looked like we had it all together. Like the grass was always cut, the trees were always trimmed. We showed up for work. Everything was amazing. It was just what was going on inside of my mind. And it was about what I believed about what was possible for myself. And that's what I want to speak to you about today. Because I didn't believe it was possible is why I couldn't create it. And the reason that I didn't believe it was possible is because that is what I was taught. That is what I saw. That's what I heard. That's what I knew. That's what my experience had been. And so I was just like going along with what the truth was, right? Because we believe our thoughts. I remember being in school and wanting more and wanting better. I wanted to be the cheerleader. I wanted to, like, in speech, I remember signing up to be one of the ones who got to give the speech. I didn't get picked for anything. I was offered to play basketball because I was tall, but I had a really hard time being coordinated. And I didn't even believe at that point by the time he offered me that it was even possible, because my belief was so limited by the time I got to high school because I didn't have any evidence proving that I could be more. So I'm just kind of like setting the tone for where I came from compared to where I am now. I did not know people who were happily married. I had never experienced that. Like people who didn't, who weren't like hating on their husband or trying to get away from them, or like having an issue with their parents and talking about like the not getting along, or the family they grew up in, and then they were all repeating it. Like these cycles were just going on in their own life, and I was like noticing all of this, but I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't know who to ask. I would go to the priest, I went to the counselor, I went to a psychiatrist. Like I did everything to try to figure this out. And then I had finally got to the point where I completely burnt myself out. I didn't know how to say no. I was getting all of my value and worth from over serving, over giving, over delivering, overdoing to my customers, to my clients. And guys, this is really sneaky because I still catch myself doing it today. It's very powerful, these neural pathways in our head. So my belief is, if you overgive and you overdo and you make sure you please them and you give them everything they want, they will never leave you. And I know these old stories and where they came from, but the fact that I took them into my business, I did not know. And so I would get really heartbroken or butt hurt when a client wouldn't come back, or when they would cancel their appointment or their membership, when they wouldn't come back to the gym, or whenever they didn't want to do the next thing I was doing. Like I would take it so personal. I was like completely shattered. And so it was making me think I wasn't doing enough. And so I just kept getting the next thing and getting the next thing and getting the next thing. And before I knew it, I was a cosmetologist, and then I was specializing in nails and then waxing. And then I became a health coach, life coach, massage therapist, yoga teacher, meditation teacher, hypnotherapist. Like I became all of the things so they would make sure that I could serve them. I could serve you. If that didn't work, this will work. I promise you this will work. And I was just like overdoing and overlearning and overgiving. Tell me if you can relate to what I'm saying. Listen, there was a huge payoff. I have to tell you, it worked. It worked for a very long time until it didn't work anymore. I made lots of money. I made lots of friends. I felt very satisfied and fulfilled. The problem is, I did it at the risk of my health, of my family, of my relationships. And it was all because I needed to be needed. I needed people to recognize my value and worth. I needed them to see that I had something to offer so that they would want to be with me, so they would want to be around me, so that they would want to acknowledge me, so they would like me, so they would be in my life, so they wouldn't leave me. This is kind of what we do, right, as codependents and people pleasers. But it worked. I have to tell you, it worked. It stopped me from dying. Like I actually was looking for any way to get out, which is going to lead me to this part of the story. I hope you're keeping on track. So I was sick. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and I had already had multiple surgeries. So I should just tell you, I've had over a dozen surgeries. I've been on medication for 24 years. I suffered with chronic pain and all of the conditions. I'm telling you, everything that a naturopath, functional medicine, and regular doctor can diagnose you with, had it. Thyroid, adrenal, aches, pains, sinus, allergies, insomnia, restless leg syndrome. I've had lots of organs removed. I know it sounds like we don't have that many, but we actually have a lot of elective organs, and they've all been removed except I have 2 kidneys and a spleen I can live without. And, when it came to like one of the very last surgeries, which was gallbladder, I was like, why are none of my body parts working? Like, what is wrong with me? Am I always trying to solve something? And that's when I kind of started putting the puzzle piece together. So when I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, I saw a rheumatologist. Thank God, this is when everything turned around. So the rheumatologist told me that fibromyalgia was self-inflicted and it was a condition of behavior. Now, guys, listen, I'm sitting here like, are you telling me I'm a hypochondriac? And he's like, oh no, it's very real. He said, it's just a condition that you create yourself. And I was like, what? Now, I'm already kind of onto this because I'm reading Louise Hay's work, and one of my very first books, like to start getting my mind in this direction, was You Can Heal Your Life. And I was already kind of putting the pieces together about like what gallbladder represented, what thyroid represented, what vision represented, what ache in the left hand or the right arm or the left foot or the knee or the hips. And I was kind of like already putting all of this together, and it was like mind blowing. But it didn't hit me until the doctor confirmed it in a different way. Then my eyes were open, my perception was changing. And here was what he told me. Go home, get the book When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chodron, read that. And he says, just get quiet for 5 to 10 minutes a day. Like start off with 5 minutes and then work yourself up to 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the afternoon, and just be still and breathe. Well, I'm like, whatever. Okay. I'm kind of onto this because I'm kind of believing, because I can see the history, right? I can see how many times I was diagnosed. I could take it all the way back to being in 7th grade, and my dad bringing me to the doctor for the stomach aches, and like I was kind of starting to put it all together. And then whenever I started reading that book, When Things Fall Apart, everything started falling apart. All of my theories, all of my beliefs, everything I thought had to crumble for me to find this new identity. And so one of the very first things that changed, I was working on my client's nails. Her name was Debbie, very close, dear friend of mine. I saw her practically every day for 8 years. I did her nails every single week. I filled them in every other. So we spent a lot of time together, and she worked out with me in the morning from the day I opened the gym. So I was very fond of her. She was an amazing friend to me. We discussed everything. And as I'm doing her nails, I'm sitting right here on the other side of this wall at the nail desk. And she said, I've been diagnosed with 4th stage liver cancer. Guys, this is what happened. I'm not proud of this, but this is what happened. My very first thought was, why does she get to die and I have to stay? And I heard it so loud and so clear. But it's because I had been doing that work and I had been listening, I had been watching, I had become the witness, the seer of my own thoughts, of my own life. And I said, fuck, I'm depressed. All of that just kind of played in my head while I'm there doing her nails. Now, you would think I would be like, oh my God, I'm so sad. I can't believe you're sick. But that's not where I went, being honest. Like, I was just like so self-involved with my own misery, with my own pity, my own victimhood, my own martyrism, like all of that stuff. I was so self-involved. That's all I could think about, is like how that was not fair. I was jealous that she had the diagnosis. Like, what? Anyway, that was a huge wake up turnaround for me. And I never looked back from that point on. I just knew I needed to do something, that this had been going on for long enough. I had just had a complete hysterectomy. And so my body and mind were really not connected. I was a little lost. I was trying to like get it together and like figure me out. And I did lose my friend. It was very sad. And I did catch my head, by the way, and was able to spend a lot of quality time with her before she did pass. But that was a really big wake up for me, is realizing that I was living this life that I really wasn't living. I was living in the limited mindset. I wasn't living in the possibility of what could have been. And so through the work, I continued moving forward. And I started like finding more and more people who were teaching on this. And one of the books that really turned it around for me was A Return to Love. And the poem in the book, when it said, quit shrinking so that other people won't feel uncomfortable, that was really big. It hit me hard because of the success I had in business and even in my life, and even the family that I married into. And like some of my life was so amazing compared to where I came from, that friends from where I came from were like hating on me. It's like, we don't mean to do that. It's just jealousy and envy. It's just the human condition. But I felt very left out and alone. And remember, I grew up alone. So I always had this kind of like sad thing. And so I had that going on. And then I had these friends who didn't want to be my friends anymore because they said I was too good for them. Like that hit me all over again, broke my heart open. And so then I was afraid to succeed. I was afraid to do better. I was afraid to get better because that meant I would be rejected. That meant I would be abandoned and isolated. And so I was stuck between this I'm not good enough and I'm too good. Like, and I couldn't find like a space to land in between. I couldn't find the bridge where I can kind of go in and out. Now I know the bridge is the shadow. It's actually the ability to go beyond the mind, to go into these thoughts and to unravel what is true and not true. I didn't know that then, although I was reading Debbie Ford's work on the shadow work and Marianne Williamson's work on this. And so all of that stuff really had, I'll say it had a huge impact, but I was still like grabbing, I was still grasping to try to figure it out. But what I had not recognized is that it was coming from my thoughts and my beliefs. And so see if you're following along with me and notice if you've done this in your own life. So if you are a health and wellness practitioner and you want to help other people and you're doing it from that place where I was, which was like kind of this wounded healer, like I was desperately needing to help them. And it was actually me trying to help myself, me trying to figure it out for myself. That's why I became all of the things. I was trying to heal my own body. I was trying to heal my own life. I was feeling misunderstood. I knew I was smart. I knew I had it together. I knew I was reliable and dependable and committed. I knew I wanted more. But what I didn't know is how to get it. And so that part of me, that higher self, that soul evolving part of me that like was ready to get out there and explore and do, my mind wouldn't let it grow, wouldn't let me evolve into that. And so I was like clamming down, shutting down, holding it in so that I could feel safe. That's where we get all this extra weight from. That's where we get this physical pain. This is where we get headaches and pressure in the neck and shoulders because we're trying to keep this energy down and quiet and tamed. And actually, what it's trying to do is evolve and grow and express and experience. So there's this dissonance that's constantly happening. And the way I think about it, it's almost like it's cracking the physical body open. Can you relate to that? Let me know in the chat. Let me know if you have any questions. So I'm going to come back to all of this. For those who are on YouTube, just comment below. I'm going to come back afterwards and I'll answer your questions. So I just want to know, first of all, if you have experienced this, if it's something that you've actually like resolved, or if it's something that you're still trying to figure out, because I want to tell you that you can live in possibility. And once I discovered this, once I recognized that it was my ability to manage my mind and stabilize my emotions, what I didn't recognize is the feelings that I was having were controlling everything. So when the client would cancel, or when they would no show on me, or they would quit the gym membership, I would feel sad. I would feel separated. I would feel less than. I would feel kind of wronged, right? I wasn't good enough. That's why they left me. This probably went back, if you wanted to do some psychoanalysis, it probably went back to the reason my mom left me as a baby. There must have been a reason, like moms don't leave babies, right? And so I was like, oh, there it is again. There's someone else leaving me. There's someone else leaving me again. And it would feel crappy. And then I would get that feeling and my intellect would try to make meaning of it. And the meaning was, oh, yeah, I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. I drove them away. I was too loud. I talked too much. I cursed too much. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. It's like people are tired of me. People get so sick of me. I'm just too much. I'm too much. I've always been told I'm too much. And that is the story that would replay in my head. So I took those beliefs and I brought it into every aspect of my life. I brought it into my relationship with my children, with my clients, with my partner, my husband, my parent, everything, everything. Because how we do anything is how we do everything. And so if you're finding yourself in distress in one area of your life, whether it be your health and wellness, your relationship, your career, your ability to make money, just know that the thoughts are like rotating through all of them. So what I want to share with you is this integrative approach where when you can find what is the root cause, what is the thought that's creating the sensation, and then what is the sensation that's driving the action. So the client would cancel or no show, quit the membership. And then I would have a thought, I'm not good enough. Of course, they would leave me. And then I would feel sad and brokenhearted. And then when I felt sad and brokenhearted, I believed it was evidence. Like, I feel it, I know it, right? That's my truth. And then I would take action from that place. So, what does a person who feels rejected, a person who feels left out and abandoned, what does that person do? Where did they come from in their actions? Like, kind of think about yourself. Like, if you believe you're not good enough, your husband or your partner doesn't want you, you're too loud, you're too much, you're too sick, and then you feel sad or you feel defeated or frustrated, what is the action that you take? It's only one of two things. Either you react or you close down. So we either like throw it out there or we shut down. But either way, we disconnect. And when we disconnect from ourself, from our belief, from our circumstance, from our partner, from our situation, when we disconnect from that part of ourself, that is what creates the results. That's what creates more of it. Does that make sense? It's just what we do as humans. It's actually nothing to do with your personality. It's nothing to do with the way you were raised. It's nothing to do with anything outside of yourself being a human. And this is the human condition. This is the way the brain works. That is amazing news because you know what? You can do something about that. You can change that. You can turn it around because that is you being in power and control of your own results. That is living in possibility. And so if you don't have what you want right now, if you're in shattered relationships, shattered body, shattered finances, you're not doing what you really want to do out in the world, you're not like living the way you imagined it would be at your age in this time and space, then know that that is because you have limiting beliefs somewhere, somehow it got shut down. There was a time where you believed. There was a time when you had confidence. There was a time when you just thought this big, beautiful, bold world was going to be the place that you got to explore and express. It was the place you were going to be able to play and create. And someone somehow shut it down. Maybe it was something you experienced. Maybe it was something someone said. Maybe it was something that you saw. And your brain told you a story and created some fear and doubt in your body. And now you're just believing that. And once you believe it, you just keep creating more evidence of it, guys. It took me a few years to clean the slate and to wipe all of this out because these neural pathways run deep. We keep believing it, so we keep finding evidence. We keep believing it, we keep finding evidence. And what we're doing is we're digging deeper and deeper and deeper. So you imagine you're down a dirt road and it's raining and muddy and you're in a four-wheel drive and you just keep passing over and over and over and over. Those ruts get deeper and deeper and deeper. So imagine however old you are, whenever whatever incidents has happened, how many more times have you thought that and how much more evidence have you created that it is true? That's how we go deeper and deeper and deeper into those beliefs. And then we don't even recognize them as beliefs. We just think they're the way that things are. We just believe it's truth. Money doesn't grow on trees. People like us can't have that. That doesn't work for us. They are unicorns. It's because they were always rich. It's because they always had it. It's because they have a business. That's why they can do that. It's because they live in California. It's because they live in the country. We have all of these reasons why. I remember when I was a leader with doTERRA, and that was one of the stories too. Like, I hit like really big, really fast, and people had a story about how I did that. And like I was a unicorn or I was someone unique and special. Not at all. It was because I loved and believed in the product and I believed it could help anyone. And I wanted to share that. And I feel the exact same way about what I'm teaching today. Matter of fact, it was the whole reason behind what I was doing with the essential oils. It was all about emotional wellness. It was always about mental stability. We have to be able to recognize what it is that's driving the actions that we take that keep creating the results that we have. So if you have a broken body, if you have broken relationships, if your business is not taking off, it's because of something that you're believing? Are you willing to investigate that? Are you willing to crack that open? Start planting doubt in the disbelief so that you can start seeing something different. Now, is it going to take courage? Hell yeah. It's going to take a lot of nerve. And then there's going to be some grief because you got to get rid of the part of you that doesn't believe. She could not come with me because she kept bringing her belief story, disbelief story in. I was like, listen here. Okay, now I know that we're just going to have to do it afraid. I'm just going to have to do it with doubt. I'm going to actually take the fear, take the doubt, put it in the passenger seats. I'm going to buckle it up rather than letting you drive the car, right? We have to, at some point, that higher part of ourself, that soul essence that really wants to get out there and do something in the world, that wants to live a healthy, viable life, or wants to run a business or start a business, whatever it is. Maybe it's cleaning up your relationship. I don't know. Like you know what it is that you want most. I'm just telling you that whatever those beliefs are, they're running all the way across. Mentally, the way you think, emotionally, the way you feel, physically, the way it's materializing in your body, in your life, in your finances, in your relationships, in your environment. Like it's everywhere. It's not just affecting that one area, it's affecting all 8 areas of your life. And so it's really about the 4 pillars of health. If you can mentally manage your thoughts and you can emotionally regulate your feelings, then you can change it the way it shows up in your physical body. And then it's a spiritual embodiment of connecting with that higher part of yourself and that higher part of your creator and embodying all of that together, integrating and embody all that you are so that you can live your life's legacy as an integrated being, not separated. That's what society has done to us. They cut us like a pie. Part went to the medical society. It's like, let them take care of your physical body. And then our soul essence part went to religion. And then our mindset went to psychology, right? It went to the mental health world. And then our emotional, like think about that. It's like everything is like you're not supposed to feel. Let's just give you some medicine and turn all of that stuff off. Like all of that has been separated when it's actually seamlessly one. And so we bring all of that back together. And so once you're integrated on all levels and you're in your natural essence, which just means that you have permission to be you, permission to be bold, to be loud, to be fun, whatever it is, so that you can live a life of ease and flow and fun and freedom. That's what we want. That's what the humans came here to experience. It's not to be holier than thou. Come on, guys. You're here to have a human experience. But because you're stifling that, you're stifling the greatness inside of you. You're trying to hold it all in. It's actually trying to come out through your body. It's trying to come up. It's pressurizing and migraines and headaches and vision problems and earaches and thyroid conditions and adrenal fatigue. And your body is like falling apart because there's a dissonance. Got it? Instead of it all being connected and all being one and flowing and working together, it's been separated. We've been treated as separate parts. So if you want to live in possibility, it's first recognizing that we have been victims of humanity. We've been victims of this world. We've been told we can't have all that we can create. We've been limited and we believed it. We've been told that. It's been proven to us time and time again. And because we believe it, we keep creating it. My role, what I want to do, my business, I want to change the mind body wellness industry, like the massage therapists, the hypnotherapists, the health coaches, all of those people who want to help people have an amazing life, to feel better, to look better, to love themselves. I want to help those health and wellness professionals. Like I want to give them this technique. I want to show them how to do this for their clients. We don't have to do things the old way, the hard way. That's what I did. I worked myself to the bone. I overgave because I was so afraid people would leave me. I wasn't overgiving Well, it's kind of like my commitment was to serve. It's just that's kind of like the nature of who I was. But it was really a neediness, a convincing, a desperation for that belonging and sense of satisfaction. I needed people to like thank me, and I needed to be like important. I needed to be seen and to be heard. And it was all because I couldn't see and hear myself. Once you can see and hear yourself, you don't need all of that exterior stuff. You don't need all of that validation. You don't need all of those people coming at you and telling you how amazing and wonderful you are, because it's actually, you're just the essence of who you are. It's just very natural. All right. So once I figured this out, I'm looking at my notes. Let me see if I got all this. So at one time, it was all about being better than bored, because that was really, really big for me. I was bored to death because I wasn't being all that I could be. And so it was like I was very limited and stifled. And I was in so much scarcity because I didn't believe I could help people unless they came to me in person. I believed that I had to have an on location business. That's why I opened this and kept expanding and trying to improve it here. I was told 10 years ago that I can have a coaching business online. I did not believe it. Like, it took me quite a few years to catch up, to realize what I was doing, who I was helping, and that it was available. My beliefs, I didn't think anyone would pay me that didn't know me. I didn't think anyone who was local would pay me for coaching. And so, can you see how I just completely set myself up for failure? I was like, nope, they won't pay me. Nope, they don't understand. Nope, they won't do it. Nope, they won't trust me. And so I had completely set myself up for BS, because the belief system was very, very faulty. And I invested in someone, which was probably one of the best things I did, who taught me how to sell with ease, who taught me how to believe in myself and offer my service in a way that wasn't icky. And that is what turned things around. I learned to step in my power. I got out of the scarcity mode. I started stepping into belief. I started seeing, I started giving myself permission to be all that I was without the fear and the doubts, because I had been told that it was bad. It was bad to be too much. It was bad to outgrow other people. It was bad to do, like, to make too much money. All of that stuff had like a lot of shame and a lot of fear, because I was afraid I would be left out. I'm afraid I'd be alone. And it was like, this is better than nothing. This is better than bored. At least I know who they are. At least I know they're always going to be there. But what I was doing is I was swimming in this disbelief, and I wasn't able to grow. And I made myself sick that way by my limited beliefs. And then I didn't think I could get better. I thought there was something physically wrong with me. I was diagnosed with depression very early on. And so I believed, well, my mother was depressed. That's why she left her kids. That's why she died. That's why she drank. And so I was like, of course, she passed that to me. She passed that to me. And so that was my belief, that we inherited all that BS. That's another lie. That's not true. That is not true. We inherit the beliefs. The beliefs are what we create the future with. And so once I realized that and I turned it around, I mean, it took a little bit of work. I'm not going to tell you it was overnight. It was not, I was not an overnight success. I just told you I had it's over to, I think I'm at six, it was 16 surgeries total. I'd have to write them all down. And the chronic pain and depression and medication and diagnosis and all of that stuff it took 24 years for me to shift through all of that. But once I knew, I knew. And I understood TMS, in which that's a lot of what I teach about. TMS is Dr. Sarno's work, and it's the mind-body syndrome. It's also tension myositis syndrome, but I call it the mind-body syndrome because it really is, it's the human condition. It's just the way the brain works. It's the fear tactics and the doubt and the distractions that the brain does so that we don't have to feel repressed emotions. And so it's a way that we keep pushing down, drowning out, and not dealing with stuff that's happening in our emotional body. And we think that that's making it better because we've been told, like, just don't cry, don't listen to that, don't feel that way, just put that aside. Like, you don't need to deal with all that. That is not true, because what feelings buried alive never die. So that stuff is still stuck in our bodies. And then when we try to go out and do something daring and courageous, it comes up and then it shakes our nervous system. And then we react and respond to that emotional trigger. And we think it means something, but it doesn't. It just means that a sensation came through your body because you had a thought and you attached the thought to the belief, and then you saw that as proof that it was true. See if you can understand what I just said. So you have a thought, and then a chemical release oozes through the body, and then we have a sensation. You can call it a feeling. You have a sensation in your body, and then our intellect makes it out to be something. Oh, I'm feeling that way because, and then we get caught in that loop. I call this an emotional signature. So at some point, there was something that happened that created this experience and we didn't deal with it. And it stayed locked there. And then we have a thought and we feel it again and we think it's happening right now, but it's not. It's actually a samskara, which just is an emotional pattern, an emotional signature in the body. All right. I am 41 minutes in, so I want to give time for Q&As if anyone has a question for me. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off of the recording on YouTube. And that way I'll be here. And if you want to just go ahead and post your questions now, I'll be happy to answer them. So those who are here on YouTube live, like make sure you hit the little bell so that you get notification when we come on. I've got lots of guests lined up all the way until August. So it's going to be super fun. A lot of modalities and trainings coming through. When I don't have a guest, I'll come on live and I'll tell you about what's going on for me. And for those who are health and wellness practitioners and you want to know more about what I do or how you can integrate this in your own practice, then I actually have I do master classes all of the time, but I just so happen to have one tomorrow at 12. So you could just email kim@kimguillory.com so that you can get on the email list and say, hey, I want to know what you have going on. I want to know more about what you do, or just comment below. All right, so I'm going to take this off of live.